there's no longevity there.
Right.
I mean, I know he's been in. People say he's been in the job a couple of years plus. I know that, but I mean, let's be honest about it. You know, most people can see through that, apart from those that need to make the decisions. But you're absolutely. I mean, people sneered. Going back to Gab's point, Gasperini has been fantastic at Atalanta, and a minute budget compared to not just Man United but other teams in Italy, and Villarreal with Unai Emery. Okay, some people want to sneer at Unai Emery. He didn't have a great time at Arsenal, but he's got a good coaching record. He's got a good coaching record, and again, he's got a very minute budget at Villarreal compared to Man United. But we saw in both those games, even though United got what they needed to get, the clear differential in the coaching philosophy and the plan that these two teams had. Look, United will say we're top of the league. Solskjaer will say we're the top of the league. In this group, they are, but they're not kidding anybody.
And it's incredible, Gab.
Yeah, and I think this is the reason why I was skeptical about him getting sacked before, is that, you know, the reality is they could have lost this game, and, you know, you were all doom and gloom on what the table would look like. Talk about jammy. Their final two group games are against Villarreal, a team who are about to lose their Judas of a manager who's going to go to Newcastle, and who you know, are understandably going to be in disarray, and against young boys who, you know, are basically what their club name says they are. And then you lose to Man City. Hey, no biggie, you can budget for a loss to Man City. They're Man City, they're really good. And, you know, unless something happens like what happened against Liverpool, then they can live with that. And then it's an international break, and then it's December, and then they're through. And, you know, it just seems to go on and on and on. And nobody makes any decisions based on how this team actually goes out there and plays, how they're coached, how they execute.
But go back to what Shaka said. He's right. This United side are absolutely ripe to be picked apart.
Right.
You know, let's be frank about this. This, in terms of the Champions League, is not a heavyweight group.
Right.
It's not. Right. And they're at the top, but they've been on the ropes for a long time on almost every game. The real good teams in this competition, the real biggies, and potentially in the Premier League, we've seen it from Liverpool, we may see it from City, should take this United side apart. One of the things you have to worry about is clearly the fact that with Ronaldo on the counter-attack, with balls into the box, with desperation, comes a little bit of fear. You know, with the desperation of United, as Gab said, you're throwing them on. You know, I don't even think Sancho and Van de Beek had much of a warm-up, if any. I think it was get your shin pads, get your stuff, get on, we need you. We saw Fernandes coming off, he didn't look happy. In all fairness, Gasperini changed things at half-time. He tightened it up around Bruno Fernandes. But with that air of desperation, for United, you've always got a chance, apart from the Liverpool game when they were absolutely killed. But if they can hang in there, and that's what they do in these games sometimes, when teams don't finish them off, they hang in there, and then a Ronaldo pops up and sort of bails you out short term. I feel as if we're sort of picking on United and Solskjaer because we're saying the same thing every week. But it was, let's be honest, it was another pretty average, horrendous performance to watch, wasn't it?
Gab, does it make any difference to Solskjaer's future that there's no longer an Antonio Conte waiting in the shadows?
I don't think so, because I think, I mean, well, first of all, we've been briefed from the club as they felt Conte wouldn't have been right anyway. But even then, I think the process for United to change managers, from what we've been told, is that, you know, they're not going to go and talk to somebody else while Solskjaer's in the job, and what that means, you have to get an interim manager. And if you get an interim manager, well, you don't want somebody who's too closely associated with Solskjaer in the current club, but you probably still want a loyal United guy, blah, 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 and you probably don't want Steve Bruce for obvious reasons. And so they don't even know where to begin with that. And I think that's what's most frustrating. But we know how the Glazers think. I think they're okay, you know, wouldn't love it, but they're okay with muddling through to the end of the season, get to the round of 16 of the Champions League. Even if you miss out on the top four, they can deal with 1 year out of the top four, and then maybe take their time and maybe make a change in the summer if things don't improve. But I really think this is their outlook now.
Wow.
Yeah,
To be honest, I mean, and this has been kind of the trend, as much as we kind of talking trends about around Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is whenever he finds himself in most trouble, he gets a result.
You called all of this, didn't you, Shaq? You called them beating Spurs.
Yeah, he gets a
Mystic
result.
Shaq.
And whenever there's a likely successor, that's when he puts together a nice little run, and then somebody takes, whether you're talking about Pochettino, somebody comes and hires that manager, and all of a sudden, now we're left, as we were before, wondering, well, if they sack Solskjaer in the morning, just for argument's sake, who's there to take over?
Right.
And there's no name that immediately jumps to the top of the list. Given what Gab is saying as well about Manchester United's own process, had this been any other club still, there's no name that jumps to the top of the sheet. And as a result, Ole just keeps buying himself a little bit of time, and then when a name emerges, he puts together a couple of results, and we're here saying the same old things again.
Yeah, it's just going to muddle along. I agree. Unless there is an absolute walloping from a City or somebody. If there's a repeat of the Liverpool scenario, then that could effectively just make a decision, fall the board mainly through probably the supporters, voicing their opinion, stamping their feet. But I think, barring that, they will just, as Gab said, muddle their way through, make some excuses, throw a few PR statements out there, and then wait and see kind of where they are in the summer and who's out there and how can they go forward. And I think that's the way they're going to go. But I think that is, as I've said, good news for the other big teams. And they might, and Spurs with a new manager. I know we're going to talk about it. Spurs with a new manager who's got a track record. That's going to be a kick up the backside to a lot of their players.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.